Hello, and welcome to the Curious Artist Podcast. This is a show for artists and art lovers where I interview a diverse group of artists in order to get at the deep questions of the art world. Welcome to the Curious Artist. Reema, would you like to please introduce yourself and share your story for the listeners who are not familiar with you?
Sure. Hi there. I'm Reema Zaman. I'm from Bangladesh. I was born there and raised in Thailand. I moved to the United States when I was 18. I'm a writer, actress, and artist. I studied and worked as an actress for 12 years in New York City. And in the last few years, from when I turned 30, I'm 32 now, I began writing in a very committed, serious way to create more agency in my life and my career. And so basically, what happened was when I was 29, I realized that acting, I needed to kind of take a little break from it. Something had happened for me I had gone into acting thinking it would be a perfect fit for my dream to be a voice for those who haven't one, especially women and children. And the thing is, being an actress, for me, what it felt like was that after a while, you're kind of reciting the words and of others, and I just needed a break from being the voice for other people's stories, and I just kind of needed to take stock of who I was and my identity and my voice. I realized I had grown very comfortable with behaving and looking and speaking the way I had been taught to, whether it was by my profession and the industry, or also, I mean, yes, when you're an actor, it's kind of an exaggerated situation, but I think all of us can empathize with. We all kind of arrive. It's a rare person who is born and is always completely truthfully themselves.
Yeah.
Most of us along the way, we start to get shaped by the messages and hands of others. And then we arrive to this place in our 20s or 30s when we're like, hold on, who am I? Where did I go? What am I what could I sound like and be like and look like if I wasn't, you know, behaving according to all these messages and voices around me? And so I'd been really comfortable with, taking on the roles other people wanted me to personally in my personal life as well as my professional life. And then I realized I got to a point where I just wasn't comfortable with that anymore. And I needed to try something else. I needed to try owning my own voice. And in the meantime, through my 20s like and in my childhood and teenagehood, there's all these things had started stacking up where that I, all these challenging situations and experiences that I had been moving through life so quickly. I had never really stopped to truly examine and engage with them and heal things that needed to be healed. And I was carrying all of this weight and confusion and all of these questions. And so all of it together just felt like I needed to take an indefinite departure from the person I had become and the life I had been living and just kind of reclaim myself and my story. And I became fixated with this idea, with the notion that what was going to help me do all this, the only thing that was going to help me do all this was if I sat down to write a book on my life. In other words, a memoir. And I that's what I did. I gave myself a year deadline to write this manuscript, which is called "I Am Yours," and strangely enough, it completely, thoroughly helped me reclaim the pieces of myself I had lost along the way, and it helped me put to rest so much any anger or pain I had been feeling from things like the usual stuff that most of us carry from childhood, and questions about how we were raised and our parents. And my parents had gone through a very challenging marriage and divorce. And then I had gotten myself into a very challenging marriage and divorce. And then, I was raped when I was in my early 20s. I had a miscarriage. I had a few of them. I had all this stuff I had just been carrying with me. There were, a few other like very messy, ultimately very valuable relationships, but there was a lot of mess happening that I've been carrying, and I writing it all down. It's amazing. There's this alchemic magic to writing nonfiction, and you get to see the roadmap of your life, everything that you have done and gone through and been sifted through. You see it laid out quite literally underneath your fingertips, and you get to connect the pieces you hadn't before and make sense of them. And then you get to reclaim them. And in a sense, you get to reclaim your inner child and your younger self and your future self, the person you want to become. So I went through this whole process, and it was invaluable for myself just as a person. And I got to know myself in this particular art form as a writer. And then, last year I signed with the world's most amazing literary agent, Lisa Demona, and we are presently shopping around my manuscript right now to publishers, trying to find our perfect match, the editor who loves it as much as we do. And the final message of this memoir, it's written as if it's an ongoing conversation between myself and my imaginary best friend from childhood, whom I never released. And each chapter, so each section, it goes, and I speak according to the age I am, meaning each section begins with I am 3, I am 4, I am 5, and when I am 3 years old, or 4, 5, 6, 17, 27, so on, I speak according to the voice I have in that point in time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I speak directly to my imaginary best from childhood, whom I never released, who, is, when I was a child, she felt like this imaginary presence. And then later, she has always stayed with me, and I've always thought of her as a best friend, a companion on this path, who doesn't direct me or give me clear directions, but is definitely a traveling companion who loves me. And so over the years, I've just embraced this presence as my version of, or my understanding of God and faith and art also, and imagination, all rolled into one. And so it's this ongoing love letter between us, and we grow up together from infancy to 31, which is when I end the book. And we learn how to own, I learn how to own my life. And the final message, that there are two main messages, which is only you or I, ultimately, only we author our lives, and everything we need, we hold within.
Wow.
So that's my book. So that's being shopped around right now, and hoping to, find our perfect editor who loves this rather unusual telling of a story as much as we do. And in the meantime, I'm also a visual artist, and so the bulk of my income comes from there. I do large pen and ink drawings, very detailed, intricate work, and then I'm also presently I'm also a part-time cashier at Whole Foods, because I love meeting people and connecting with them and giving them eye contact and hearing their stories. One of the greatest gifts of my life is that whatever, for some reason, people completely open up and trust me with their stories. And I have been given an unusual volume and intensity of connection. And so I write, I've never had formal training. I believe my training has just been life experience, and also because I've had the great privilege of being a listener for so many people's stories. And after a while, it's it's almost impossible not to start seeing the similarities and the connections and the patterns within all of our stories. And so that's where I write from. And I have a writing project going on right now called Dear Reema, which is it's on Medium, and it's a back and forth letter giving and receiving community, which is so readers write in send me their letters. They email me their letters about something they're going through, whether it's a divorce or an unhealed childhood wound or young adult wound, like being raped or disownment or all of these things, or having lost a loved one. And I don't advise. I'm very open about. I'm very upfront about not being an expert on anything. I listen and I try to offer you what I can. I synthesize your story along with anything it's triggered in my story, and I just try to offer you any kind of love and comfort and insight I can offer. So that's been really, really exciting to watch, to see grow. And it's been incredibly rewarding, of course, to have this growing community. So you can find it. That's Dear Rima. You can just, it's on
Yeah.
Medium. Yeah. And then, and then I'm working on the second manuscript, which is called On My Way to You. So it's all, I feel incredibly fortunate to have found this tribe of like this like community of people who write to me and whom I get to engage with on a daily basis. There are remarkable benefits to just stopping your life if you feel like it's left your hands and saying, I'd like to define it on terms that feel more truthful to who I want to become and what I would like to do in this world.
That's great.
Thank you.
I have so many questions to come from that. So let's start from the beginning. You were raised in Thailand?
I was. So I'm from Bangladesh. I was born there. Both my parents are born and raised there as well. They had an arranged marriage, and they had me when they were really young. My mom was 22 and my father was 28. And when I was 2 years old, we moved to Hawaii and we lived there for 4 years. My father was doing his doctorate, his PhD in economics. And then when I was 6 years old, and my brother was born in Hawaii. And then when I was 6 years old, we moved to Bangkok, Thailand, because my father got a posting with the United Nations, and he has been a diplomat our entire lives. And my mom is a teacher, and they're both absolutely remarkable. And my sister was born in Thailand, and I mean, they're the greatest inspirations of my life and the greatest reasons in my life. And we were very fortunate to grow up in an international community. And in a school, I went to an international school, and we were raised on the belief that we our mission in life was to positively impact the world. Like that was just a very nonchalant task that we were assigned, and it didn't feel at all like a heavy burden. It felt like this wonderful expansion, this permission to dream and dream big. Yeah, and we all knew that after graduating we would disperse all around the world, and I knew that I wanted to move to the United States, specifically to New York, because I wanted to pursue acting professionally.
Now, before we move on to this next chapter, the New York chapter, let's call it, how do you think your childhood influenced your art?
Um, well, we moved around a lot within Thailand, in a lot of different homes. And I think by the time I graduated, we had lived in 8 different apartments through my 8 different homes and or apartments throughout my childhood. And art was always the real anchoring force because it's always something you carry inside of you. It's no matter your geography or the emotional landscape of your life, art, like faith, is something no one can take from you. There are very most things people can rob from you, but there are the few things that do ultimately matter are the things that no one can kidnap from us, like faith and art and talent and integrity and resilience and self-awareness and self-agency. And really, at the end of the day, what do we really need? So I think moving around a lot and being part of a community of people who also moved around a lot and were from all over the planet, it only reaffirmed this belief that whatever I need, I hold inside of me, beginning with art. It's been the strongest constant in my life.
So many directions I could take this. Now, you mentioned that you're a visual artist as well. Did that start in childhood as well?
It did. My both my parents, they have always been incredibly supportive of my hobbies and my imagination, and maybe this also comes with, in Asian cultures, sports isn't that big. Like, I'm going to make a really gross generalization. Sports isn't a very big deal, and also because we lived in a city, like going outside to play wasn't always possible, or having a lot of friends to play with wasn't always possible. And my mom especially, but both of them really, she was very, very encouraging of me just learning how to write and draw from a very young age. I was hungry to learn how to write and read, especially when I was young, and I was always drawing. I just remember that my brother, when he was born, he was born when I was 4. Well, technically 3 years, 9 months, and 5 days. It was one of the best days of my life, so I know the number very well. And he was a really active child, and I, on the other hand, like, I was really happy with just being by myself for hours on end, drawing and scribbling. And my mom just let me lean into that. She was like, okay, do whatever it is you need to do. You have because especially before I even knew the English alphabet, I knew how to write my own language and scribble through words and images that I came up with. And I've always been encouraged to be there, to sit in that.
Nice.
Thank you. And I mean, I've just been very blessed with that kind of encouragement. And then I went to this amazing school where our arts programs, like, after I moved to the United States and started college, I realized it was an incredible, our primary and high school education, or primary and secondary education, was incredibly intellectually rigorous. And also our extracurriculars were on, like, college level classes. And because it was a very expensive and prestigious school, we were also given amazing, amazing, like, studio space and theater space. And I had jewelry workshop classes, and I had, sculpting classes, like, from the time I was 12. And we were exposed to all of this. And it was up to us if we wanted to really engage on a deep level. And I will always want to engage on a deep level in anything. Sometimes almost to my detriment because I have to be I'm very good at commitment. So I have to be very careful about what it is I commit to. You can read between the lines of that and we can, talk about that more. But anything I am interested in, I will just explore. And I was very lucky to be in this environment, this academic and artistic environment that really nurtured that and fed that. And then in high school, we did a full IB program, like international baccalaureate.
I know what
Yeah.
that is. My mom actually teaches at an IB school.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, so you know all about it. And it's just like very, very intensive work
Yeah.
in any subject matter. And yeah, so I did visual art all throughout my life. And I actually, do you know the work of Brene Brown?
Yes, I love her.
Yes, me too. I absolutely love her. And she talks about how creativity is something all of us hold within. And it's simply a matter of whether we give it life or we suffocate it, And a lot of the times, oftentimes, the suffocation comes from having been shamed somehow for not being good enough, quote unquote, good enough in our art or artistic abilities, during school. And I had a moment of that in high school where my honors art teacher, she called my paintings. I was doing these large scale nudes. She called them pornographic, and I was so ashamed of this and so wounded. And actually, I didn't do any visual art throughout college. Purely on focused purely on theater. And then I moved to New York and started acting in films and theater and TV. And I didn't pick up a pen or a paintbrush for years. And I started drawing actually because the way I would supplement my income in New York was being a full-time or part-time nanny and babysitter. And the thing about kids is they have a lot of birthdays and a lot of Christmases and christenings. And if you're making, just a small wage by the hour, I couldn't afford buying them presents, each one of them. And so I had to figure out like what to do. And so I started drawing children's portraits and gave them as presents. And I used to draw them in this, sometimes very realistically or in a imaginative way and a more abstract way. And soon I started getting orders for commissions of those children's portraits. And then I started writing a children's book. And then that turned into, I started doing bigger and bigger pieces, drawings. And when my ex-husband broke up with me, he kind of just, it was an awesomely abrupt incident in that I had to suddenly figure out where to live and how to quickly, to just like, embrace this new lease on life. That's how I saw it. And I, again, similarly to like getting fixated with the idea of, okay, just write a book and it'll show you your future. I had a similar moment when I was 27 and separated from my ex-husband. And I thought, okay, you know what? Lean into your visual art and somehow that's going to help you figure out the next couple of years. And it did. Instead of going out and, I think when you go through a really big breakup, you get a lot of encouragement to go out into the world and use substances and other people's bodies to somehow help you manage this time. And I just had this very clear instinct that no, I'm just supposed to sit here and create work, visual art and written art, and something will happen. And actually, that's when I really started producing work on a whole new level. And suddenly, these large scale drawings were spilling from my fingertips and on a level of craft and skill that I had never seen inside of me before. And it was as if my spirit had been decanted and it just started blooming. And yeah, and so that's when my visual art took off. And I also started writing music, and I produced a CD, and I produced and starred in a satirical rap music video called I Made a Sex Tape, which is about voyeurism and female objectification in the media. And so you can look that up. But anyway, so all this, and then I started writing about different things and posting it publicly, sharing it on Facebook. And I built myself a website, and my sister, she's amazing. She helped. And I just started publicly showing and sharing all of this like volume of work that suddenly just came forth. And the first of the pieces I wrote and shared was on anorexia because, of course, I have to laugh because that's what you have to do. Of course, I had an anorexia, and it was something I'd struggled with from when I was 15, and I started really taking ownership of it and making healthy choices when I was 24. But it is completely a learning process, and you're in continual recovery for the rest of your life. So that was the first piece that I shared, and the kind of feedback I got in the sense that I heard from so many people saying that, oh my gosh, like it wasn't the praise, it was more that they felt connected, that they felt heard and understood and comforted. And that to me and they felt loved. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is what I've been always trying to do. I tried to do it through acting, thinking that this, I could help others find their voice if I took on the role of others, but it wasn't that. I've always just tried to help people feel loved and comforted and seen and understood and heard. And I realized, oh my gosh, through writing, you kind of take out the middleman. You are just yourself your soul is speaking to someone else's soul in a way that is just undiluted and hasn't been processed through various channels. It's the closest thing we can come to embracing each other. If we aren't doing it physically, then just to do it through our words. What else really is there at the end of the day? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I leaned into that, and here is where you find me now.
Yeah, so many directions I can take this. Okay. So I got a few more questions for you in this vein then. Can you describe those drawings to me?
Sure. Most of them are on Instagram and online, so you can find them too if you'd like a visual of it while I talk. So it's I use micron pens, which are really fun, which are fine tipped black pens. Well, they come in all sorts of colors, but I use the finest tip possible, and they're really precise, intricate, detailed drawings, and of people and roses and birds and skulls and really anything, and a lot of feathers, a lot of wings, anything that I kind of cook up, or and when I take commissions, I'll ask someone to tell me what they're going through in life, and or what they would like to have as a piece of art, because I feel art, any genre of art, when it's done ethically and authentically, it is here to serve and to comfort and to love. It is an offering of love. And so I basically ask a person, how can I give you this offering of love? What would you like in your in this gesture of love? Like what is it? What are the symbols that you need to be around or that you're feeling connected to these days? Yeah, and I guess similar to the way I write, um, I like very precise lines. I love, 'cause I'm always trying to turn pain into poetry, and and depth and create shadow, but also, and also all of my drawings are black and white, and I really enjoy that because the white paper is just as much of a character, just as important of a character as the black line, which I think is a great metaphor and lesson. It has been for me for looking at life, which is we create using not only what is tangible and seen, but also what is invisible. And the absence of a black line isn't actually an absence. It's it's an opportunity. That white space is an opportunity, and the white space is necessary to form the shape you want to form. It's not emptiness.
How did the dream develop for you to be the voice for others?
Well, I grew up, around Bengali and Thai culture, and a lot of just Asian cultures, and I and also my family in Bangladesh are most of them are Muslim, and we had tried being practicing Muslims when I was younger, and it just didn't vibe with me. Um, and I remember, um, and then also just about a lot about the cultures I was growing up in. I kept on coming into the thought that women have such little agency, or we're given such little agency and opportunity in our lives. And I knew that I had been given a very, very fortunate hand, that had I been born to a family next door, or I would not have been given the education and opportunities that my parents were able to give me, and I always felt that of course I have, it shaped me completely, and also felt like something I have to honor through what I dedicate my life to doing.
Nice. It sounds like you found your tribe. How have you managed to do that?
When we grow up, listening to that mantra or that adage that you can't truly love others or another person until you love and know yourself. You can't truly love and know others until you love and know yourself. And I think, the only way I've been able to become part of this tribe of incredible people is by, realizing that all of us really, our truest mission is to serve others in a way that we specifically can. And our task in life is to figure out what that looks like. What can I bring to the table? What can you bring to the table? And that happens through a lot of self work and discovery and rumination on who it is you are, the skills you hold inside, and what it is you're going to stand for and spread on this planet. And once I figure that out, I think that's how I started connecting with people on kind of a rapid way and scale. And yeah, maybe you can tell that all I'm trying to do is share love. And I think when a person unconsciously or consciously feels that, they're going to come towards you.
So I've got one last question before we move on to my next set of questions. So it was very brave of you to share your anorexia story. Now, to make this more general, a lot of people have things they don't want to talk about. I specifically have things that I don't know if I'm ready to be publicly open about. How do you find that courage to be open about sensitive topics, and do you think it's worth it?
Well, thank you. That's an amazing and very high compliment. I almost feel like uh, it's it's not praise that I deserve in this sense. Um, it doesn't feel scary to me, so it doesn't require. For me, it doesn't require courage to talk about pieces of myself, parts of my life, and certainly not the things that I've put myself through or been through. I don't know. It's never. I mean, my mom and dad, my mom and my father and my dad. I have an amazing stepdad, whom I call dad. All of them, all three of them can attest to the fact that I am the least shy person, and I have like an unorthodox audacity to just giving you uh, the truthful parts of me. I don't know, and I can answer in a more coherent way the second part of your question, which is yes, for me at least, and from what I can sense from others, it's when they do it, that it is absolutely valuable and beneficial to speak from your truth and be inside your truth. Because to be anything else is painful. It really is.
Yes.
You can feel it's like the soul feels completely itchy and at unrest because you know that you're wearing clothes that don't belong to you. You're wearing a voice that is not yours. You are living as a person that you know you were not born to be.
How do you go about developing that, your authentic voice, then?
A lot of just practice and love. And you have to first commit to loving yourself because everyone else will try to encourage you and help you and love you. But the biggest commitment and permission comes from yourself. That's the first and middle and last commitment and permission. It comes from yourself to be, to speak as yourself. Yeah, because otherwise, we can't receive really other people's encouragement or love. You have to be committed to being your most truthful self, to allowing yourself that gift, really. Does that make
Yeah,
sense? Yeah. That like the only permission you ultimately need is your own.
that's a great statement. So here's a series of questions that I like to delve into because I find them to be fascinating. Now, I know that there is no one right answer, one answer for any of these questions. I just like to see the different perspectives from different people.
Sure.
My first question I'd like to ask is, what is your definition of art?
Mm. I feel that art is anything we create that comes from a place of positive emotion and it is created with the intention that it will positively affect the world versus negatively affect the world. For instance, you can be a performance artist and take a trying to be not R-rated here. You can take a massive you can unload a piece of feces on a pedestal and attach a little tag underneath and call it, give it a name, and you can call it the demise of humankind. And you can assert that it is art. I don't know if that's positively contributing to the world or moving our conversation forward in a loving, kind way. Similarly, certain politicians are absolute creations, and speeches and campaigns and personas that have been created for them are exactly that, creations. But are they adding positive things to the world? Not so much. Whereas when you have politicians like Obama, his speeches are definitely art. His imprint is definitely loving. And so then you have certain television shows that are positively contributing to the human conversation, and other television shows like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which I don't know if that really, yes, it is a creation, but is it art? I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your definition of an artist then?
Someone who creates from a place of integrity.
What do you think the role of art and the artist is in today's society?
I think it's the same role that it has been from the beginning of time, which is we use the experiences we live through. We use the inspiration society gives us every day. We reflect and we synthesize all the information, and we process it and give it back, transmute it and transform it and give it back to, I don't like using the word audience. I think it just is like, it has such a, because it suggests that there's like us up on a stage, on a raised stage, you know what I mean? And I don't think artists are on any kind of raised platform. We don't need to be. I think we're just having a conversation. I think the role of an artist is we take all this information, we synthesize it, and we give it back to our tribe, our community, in a way that is an offering of love. We're somehow trying to enhance and expand and move the conversation forward. To broaden minds, to engage honest opinions, and to engage deeply in this thing that we're all part of, which is, this wild, wise design called life. And our role is to contribute.
Now, what role does, well, I use the word in the question of the audience, but insert, I know you don't like that word now.
So I didn't at all mean it directly towards you.
No, I know, but I'm trying to get at it as like, so that's the role of the artist plays. So what role does the audience play in art itself?
Well, it's a dialogue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because an artist, I think, can only do honest, authentic work of integrity if they're honoring this back and forth rather than just speaking at, but speaking with and for. It's a dialogue and not a monologue.
Now, that was good. I like having my words are escaping me, which is not good for an audio podcast.
It's fine. It's a natural and authentic conversation.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Me too. I prefer conversations too.
like we said, it's dialogue and not a monologue,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
This feels like a good one.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Thank you. It does for me as well.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd like to go on to what I'm going to call the lightning round. I ask the questions quickly. You can answer them at whatever speed you want to answer them.
Awesome.
What are some books that inspire you artistically?
I love anything by Cheryl Strayed and Mary Carr
Mary
and
Carr?
Lydia Yoknovich and Mary Carr, and Elizabeth Gilbert. And I love Glennon Doyle Melton and Brene Brown. So any of their books, any and all of their books. And when I was younger, my teens, I read a lot of magical realism by Gabriel Garcia Marquez and Isabel Allende. And I also, when I was younger, when I was like 10 or 11, I really got into dystopian novels because, it's speculative fiction. What dystopian novels really do is that it takes something about present day society and then expands on it and exaggerates it and says, if this and if we continue on this path and if we pour some strangeness or cruelty or greed on it, what will happen? If we continue down this path in the way we are now, at the rate we are now, at the speed and urgency and specific emotion we are now, what will happen? And I'm always fascinated with that. And so all of those things, speculative fiction, magical realism, and then reading the memoirs and works of incredibly powerful, intelligent, and truth speaking women. Those three things have really informed who I am and my work.
So, how do you stay artistically productive with everything you have that's going on?
How do I not? It's everything that's going on is artistic. Well, you mean like focused or?
How do you keep on track or not? So, stay productive.
Um,
What I mean by productivity is achieving the ends that you set out to achieve, maybe. It's more purpose
right,
driven productivity than a work driven
right,
productivity.
right. Well, I guess maybe that's kind of where my answer would begin from, which is for me, work is synonymous with purpose. I don't have any kind of, I don't have any negative association with the word work
Mm-hmm.
because for me, my work is art, which is love, which is my faith, which is my mission and my purpose in life. Um, so it's very fun for me and it's not at all difficult to be disciplined and focused. I'm yeah, I didn't realize this until my 20s that focus and determination and discipline are things, are like traits that not every personality has. For me, I've always been, I mean, you can ask my parents, I've just been that kind of kid. Yeah, I would pull all-nighters when I was like 9 years old because I wanted to, I used to create these little books where I used to write stories and then hole punch papers and braid yarn through the holes. And I had these like elaborate creations and dioramas and posters and images and all. Like I used to just do these things. And if I felt like doing them for like overnight, I would. Yeah. And so it's never being committed to my purpose and my art and my work has never been very difficult. It's just part of who I am.
So you don't ever have like deadlines that you have to meet, and you're ever stressed out about them. And
No, I love deadlines. I give myself a lot of deadlines because I just work in that way. I really enjoy them. Like if, actually you remember how I said I'm so good at being committed. My kryptonite is actually that I have to be careful about what it is and who it is I commit to because that's why that's one of the reasons I was such an expert anorexic telling myself to not eat for 3 days was a very easy task to accomplish. Discipline has never been difficult for me, and I have to be very mindful about how I use it. I've stayed in really unhealthy relationships way past their expiration dates because I've just been committed to the relationship and committed to the notion of loyalty and vows and contracts and unspoken contracts and I've had to teach myself how to manage my discipline and steer it towards things that are loving and good for myself and others.
Interesting. I have the opposite problem. What are some artist resources that you would recommend?
All the resources you hold within you. Really mine the strengths that I think we all have. Really cultivate that. Yes, it's wonderful if you have a supportive family or a supportive group of friends or a mentor or a program you're part of. But I do come from a pretty supportive family, but we're not perfect, and there has been you know I live this very non-traditional, non-linear path. And my family, all of them are very, especially my siblings, I think, well, I mean, most people, right? We're, it's, we're educated in a way, we're raised on this, almost traditional linear thinking. And so I've had to definitely be, there's been many large swatches of time in my life where I've been the only person who's been my support system. And so I think just the resource you really have to spend time on and figure out is yourself.
Wow.
Because everything else can leave or just say, you know what, I need a break from you. Or, you've been working so hard on this dream for so long and I can't be there for you every single day. And yeah, most people will not be there for you. And if you get your strength to a place where it ultimately doesn't matter, then you'll be able to do what it is you need to do, regardless of who else you have around you.
So time is coming to a close, so I've got two final questions. This is a question that I ask all the people that I interview. And
Right.
The name of the podcast is The Curious Artist. What is an artist are you curious about right now?
I'm really fascinated by Glennon Doyle Melton's work recently. And reading her memoir Love Warrior, and I just love it. Yeah, she's someone that I'm really interested in, who is very inspiring to me. I feel like there's so many people that I'm constantly inspired and intrigued by, and she's just one of them. If I have to give you one name, yeah.
I didn't even ask for people, but yeah, that's funny that your mind went to being curious about people. Everyone has different answers. Yeah. It's such an interesting question.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Finally, how can we find and support you?
Oh, thank you. Just, I guess read Dear Reema, write to me. I would love to hear anything and everything anybody wants to share and have a dialogue about. And when my book is published, when it's picked up by a publisher and published, of course, I'll let you know, and we can do like a follow-up interview.
That would be great.
That would be amazing. Thank you. But yeah, I guess like send good vibes that it's going to happen. I have full faith that it will. It's just a matter of finding, it's like a marriage, it's like finding the right person, the right match. Um, yeah.
Do you have any
And
social media
so
accounts?
I have one little addendum
Oh,
to the last question. Keep doing your work. And that's for you, Carly, for everyone. The way we support each other is to continually feed and lean into our own art. That's how this works.
wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and you were going to ask about social
Oh,
media?
yeah.
Right. Yeah. My my name is spelled Reemazan, and that's what I am in on all social media channels. Yeah. I'm mostly, I guess, on I don't do too much of social media except for I'll do deep engagement through the letters I post,
Mhm.
and on Instagram and on Medium and on Facebook. But I'm not someone who's always very chatty. Maybe that'll change. I really enjoy having this semi anonymity right now and soaking it up. I have a feeling that sometime soon, in the next few years, my life will become less anonymous. And I really enjoy being able to just focus very, very deeply on my family and my immediate community and people who love my work and feel connected to it before it has gone onto a grander, shinier scale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And before I've achieved commercial success, I really like our intimate tribe that we have right now, and I pour my all to them, to you. I'm not really interested in tweeting away to the masses that I don't really know who they are.
Yeah.
You know, I like this, like what you and I are having. This is what I just try to um, ignite and cultivate in as many ways as possible.
Wonderful. Yeah, sometimes social media can be impersonal. Let's just say.
I don't really get it, and I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
I wish I wasn't so connected on social media, on Facebook at least. I feel like I'm always on it, and I have so many of my pictures and my life on it that I don't think it would be possible to disconnect. Also, I work in social media right now, so
Exactly. So I mean, it's a really fine and personal balance that everyone has to navigate. It's like what are you doing that is truly of value and service to others and yourself? And then when is it that you feel like you're not really doing it for the right reasons? And your soul will always know. It may take your mind a few days or months or years to catch up, but your soul will know
yeah.
when you're not, speaking and engaging from a place of love and integrity. Mark Nepo, who's a poet, he says this like really amazing thing, which is we're right now in this culture, this time where it's so easy to become fixated and fascinated with numbers and more followers and swipe rights and all these like immediate satisfaction rising numbers kind of thing, like how many likes did I get, how many retweets did I get, how many people are following me, and it's all about gaining attention. And he says, what would happen if we kind of just reframed the question that it's rather than focusing on gaining attention, ask yourself, what are you giving your attention to? And that's actually not only the way to feel more in line with your true self, but also if you want to really deeply engage with a tribe, that's how it happens. If you're offering from a place that is whole and wholesome and good, because people will feel that. And then a byproduct of that, an accidental byproduct, but not a unsurprising byproduct, is that you will gain more attention, but you'll also be in a place, in a spirit place, where it doesn't matter that much anymore because you're just happy to be engaging in love anyway. I'm really relieved and happy that if I do come into commercial success, it'll be now in my 30s and not my 20s. Because in my 20s, I was very much like an amoeba that was very impressionable and malleable. And and I was all about gaining attention.
Yeah.
And and then coming home and wondering, why does this feel so shitty? Like, why does it feel so unsatisfying? Because and the answer is because gaining attention is so vapid and fleeting and unnourishing of an intention. Like, you will always feel empty. You will always feel hungry if that is what you're trying to feed.
Totally.
But if you're yeah, but if you're just wanting to connect, wanting to give attention to others, oh my gosh, then all you need is like the page in front of you and one person. You don't even need that one person for much of the time. You just need this spiritual, imaginary best friend person whom you're writing to or drawing to or whatever, whatever your genre or medium of art is. You just need this imaginary best friend who then, starts taking physical shape as more people all around you. And you realize that's what I've always been trying to do, just to connect, just to love, just to give. Everything else will fall into place.
That was beautiful. And I've been thinking a lot about similar things like connection and reaching, exposing myself and being vulnerable and seeing. In order for others to see you, you have to see others.
Absolutely, my love. Totally.
And I haven't been doing that in the past, so now I'm working on it.
You know what? And it's nothing it's no one's fault, and it's definitely not something to fault ourselves with.
Yeah.
We have all done that. It's a really rare person, again, who hasn't slipped once or twice or three times or four, multiple times, and that's why I think we are all here to help support each other, find our vision and retain that clarity.
Yeah. When I went to WDS, I had this amazing clarity, and I feel like it's slipping away a little bit.
Right. Well, why do you think that is?
I'm letting myself get off track. I think I haven't connected enough to the local community, and I've let myself become a little disconnected from other people lately.
Yeah. It's really easy to do when you're a visual artist or a writer, because our work happens mostly when we're just in solitude.
Yeah.
Definitely don't beat yourself up about it. But yeah, I'm really happy to know that you have identified that what you're craving and missing and what you need now is just the human person to person connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the lesson that you needed to learn. And that will be crucial and something you will carry with you for the rest of your journey. So it's perfect. It's exactly the way it needed to happen.
Thank you.
It's like you're welcome. And a lot of times we don't know what's missing until we feel that emptiness. Like it's almost like a physical thing. Like you can't really recognize the hunger until it is there.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a place to end the interview if you want to end it. But you keep on just saying wonderful things.
Oh, thank you. Well, we can just wrap it up now, I guess.
I just don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, you're not at all. Like, I live for this stuff.
That's nice.
You're nice. And I'm so happy and grateful that you're doing this, that you have this. I think podcasters and interviewers are such humble and giving people because it's what you're doing is showcasing other people's work and stories. And that's such a noble and loving thing to do.
I feel selfish sometimes because these are things I want to know myself. So I just put a microphone on you. I'm not sure if anyone's ever going to listen to this or not. I mean, so maybe some people will listen, but
I've heard a lot of interviewers and say that, they may have initially started off thinking, oh, this is going to be a wonderful, like a business venture or professional enterprise, and somewhere along the way they realize, oh my gosh, I've unconsciously, I needed to and wanted to do this because I love being a student of stories and human beings and lives. And yeah, I think like that's what any of us like we're supposed to be, and if we get detached from that, from our role of being a student, I think that's when we go into the dark, shadowy, twisty place. But I think we are students just taking on different shapes.
yeah.
Yeah. This was wonderful.
Thank you. This was wonderful for me too.
Thank you.
I'm glad I met you.
I'm so glad we met too.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you would like to support the Curious Artist Show, please share it with a friend or someone you think would enjoy it. Thanks again. Have a nice day.